What? I'm not sure this is how you drive the car.
Thomas, it was 30 years ago. They did things differently back then.
Okay.
Also, this is the T-top. I'm using my toes. The T stands for toes.
What?
And it's safer this way.
How is it safer?
Look. No snap oversteer.
You're watching Throttle House. I'm Thomas.
And I'm James.
And this is a 1991 Toyota MR2.
1991, which lands this particular MR2 near the beginning of the Mark II generation. This is a mid-engined rear-wheel drive car, and if that's a good enough layout for Formula One, it's a good enough layout for us. And this one actually belongs to our newest team member on Throttle House, Greg. We like Greg, and he likes this car. In fact, he's driven it across North America. Stock power with a few suspension upgrades, it's his baby. And it's not even the turbo MR2. So get ready to hit 60 miles an hour in a hair under 8 seconds. Yeah.
If you're new to Throttle House, we do car reviews, track tests, and quite a lot of messing around. So subscribe and hit the bell.
And the reason you buy this back in 1991 is because apart from a Fiero, it was pretty much the only cheap way to get yourself into a mid-engine car. So not only do you get the sound right behind you, you also get that mid-engine balance. A balance that we've heard a million times can bite you. So the MR2 has built up a very unfair reputation for snap oversteer. It's just not true.
All right, I might have hammed that up a little bit. The snap oversteer isn't really that bad. It's definitely there. And the reason that people have an issue with it is because if you turn in and lift off the throttle or get on the brakes, the rear will go very easily. And you have to be ready to catch it. That said, if you are ready to catch it, it's not really an issue. And the way that you fix that, by the way, is you just get on the throttle, shift the weight over the rear. As soon as the weight's back over the rear, the car settles down, off you go. And that does mean that even though I have a hilariously low amount of horsepower, I can do skids in this car because it wants to rotate. Turn in, dab a brake, rear comes around, and you just get back on the throttle. It's easy, it's fun, I love it. In fact, the reason that I love even doing low-speed skids or any low-speed driving at all in this car is that it's incredibly analog. This one doesn't have power steering, it doesn't have ABS, and it has a cable throttle, so everything is snappy. And it has a really old transmission, which means that if you want to downshift smoothly, here's a flex coming, you have to double clutch. Clutch out, rev, clutch in, put it in gear, and off you go. Otherwise it grinds. The truth is, I love driving this car. Yeah, it's squeaky and the clutch is creaky and the transmission's kind of bad and yeah, but it's durable.
The thing is, the only thing anyone ever talks about with the MR2 is snap oversteer. But for me, that's not the coolest part. The coolest part is how durable they are. This particular one has done 226,000 miles, or 360,000 kilometers, and trust me, none of those were gentle, especially the last 20 or so. And here it is, working perfectly. In fact, we didn't even notice that we almost burned or lost the entire contents of the engine oil. In fact, the reason I'm standing here talking to you and not driving the car is because the owner had to go out and get more oil.
As we said, no, this is not the turbo. This is the naturally aspirated 2.2 litre 4-cylinder from the Camry of the time. So it's got 120 horsepower. It doesn't sound like much, but when you think that this car weighs the same as a Miata, it doesn't feel that slow. Now later on, the Mark II got ABS and improved suspension, and they fixed the snap oversteer. So this also has some of the earlier stuff, like it doesn't have a power steering rack, which, as raw as I'm sure Thomas is saying it is and how much he loves it, it actually makes a very light car feel a little bit heavier. But once you turn it in, there's that feeling that the weight distribution is like here, not front, not in the back, here. And it's just really satisfying. But more importantly, because it's so analog and so light, it's actually really easy to drive. I can't believe a car like this is $5 grand for a mid-engined, naturally aspirated, pop-up headlights Toyota sports car. But at this price, think of it as more of a base MR2 from which to explore from, because even the owner of this wants to V6 swap it, which is a very common swap. And this is the naturally aspirated one, so the shift ratios are actually shorter than they are in the turbo, so that you can stay in the torque and realistically have a bit more fun. You're just shifting all the time.
Oh, locking up, under brakes, downshift. It's fun. It's just light, it's fun, it's analog. You really do have to drive one of these, and if you don't pay attention, it'll catch you out. That's why I like it. And everyone talks about the turbo, and that's the one that you want of the MR2. Well, guess what? This car is naturally aspirated, which means that everything happens when you put your foot down. Also, since it's got the shorter gears, like James mentioned, you kind of have to wring it out, and you're always shifting to find what little torque you have. I would miss that if I had a turbocharger and more power. We've been lucky enough now on Throttle House to drive a whole bunch of JDM legends, Supra, GTR, and the Honda Civic Type R. And so far, this is my favorite because it's just the simplest version of a sports car. Also, I like things that are mid-engine. I like things you have to pay attention to drive. And you have to pay attention to drive this. I love it. I want one of these. And right now, they're a great value. If that changes because of this video, don't get mad at us. I'm sorry. Also, hopefully I'll have already bought one by then. Unlike James with his RS5, as soon as we did that video, I heard what the price is and he couldn't get one. What do you think?
I think it looks great. I think it's not a timeless... So I think now it looks perfect.
Now it's perfect, yes.
It's just not a timeless design. Like, it looks very 90s.
Okay, well, excuse me. These are timeless.
No, these are pop-up headlights, and by definition are not timeless because they are not possible anymore and therefore are a subject of a time.
Okay, that's true. But in my brain, I love pop-up headlights.
I love them. Yeah,
they're amazing.
Has them.
They're so great. Oh, you know what is timeless, though? Not necessarily this particular design, but the design of a mid-engine car. This is an unmistakably a mid-engine car, and that's why I love it. A Miata is arguably more beautiful, but this is the engine. It's obvious, and we got the huge intakes here, which are real, by the way.
But as part of that mid-engineness,
yeah,
this is like one of the most practical cars compared to a Miata.
Which
doesn't even have a glove box.
Mid-engine and practical always go well in the same sentence.
We have a trunk.
This is the trunk. This is the frunk. The frunk.
All right.
Yeah.
Not huge. A lot of character in there. It's quite exposed.
Batteries up front for weight distribution. That's important.
And then the trunk
is
massive. Like, way bigger than it deserves to be. It's like a 10 in Harry Potter.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that coming, actually. That's quite big.
I did an Instagram post on it on Throttle House, and I fit in it completely. Oh, you can almost close it.
You never tell me about the Instagram posts you do, and that's concerning to me. Can we show people the engine?
Yes.
Okay.
And the way to do that is to go behind the seat.
And kablam. Aha! It's a transverse mounted mid-engine car as opposed to a longitudinally mounted. So the transmission is on the side as opposed to like kind of inboard. Weight distribution is still lots of fun though, but it's more 911-y than like a mid-engine car normally would be. And also, listen to this closing. You go and slam that, and it's a byword for quality.
That sounds like I just kicked a radiator.
Beautiful.
This is a big glass curved screen, which is expensive to replace. These
It's gotta be.
Targa top things are now rare, and
Yes.
they cost $500 each.
Really?
To buy. So, you know, does this look like, this is about $5,000 or $6,000. So
Yeah.
Greg, the owner,
Yes.
wonderful Greg, said that he's paid $3,200 for this, and it wasn't in the best shape.
Right.
He's since put 16 grand in it.
1,600?
Yeah, so 3,200 originally.
16 grand?
16 grand. So if you put those together, he said that the entire value of it now is about 6 grand. Right?
That makes perfect sense.
It's all part of his buy high, sell low strategy.
Yes.
And it's going really well for him. But I think it looks the price. The paint could do with a bit of love, although it is on its last layer. He started to polish it, and because it's on its last layer, it started to go white. So it kind of could do with a whole new paint job.
Okay, it's very obvious over here. Let's look at the interior really quickly, though.
Yeah.
Great noise.
There's some, yeah, there's like a spring.
Bong. That's not the original steering wheel.
No, the original steering wheel melted in the sun. So, which is
Yeah.
pretty metal.
Yeah.
This is a Celica steering wheel.
Right.
What do you guys call
Or
it?
Celica.
Celica?
I actually do call it a Celica personally, but a lot of people from here call it a Celica. I don't really know what.
That sounds like a liquid plastic, or like
Yeah.
what's the stuff you inject that's not.
Inject into what? What do you inject yourself
No,
with?
I don't. Not on a
James, some confessions. So, gauge cluster,
simple. 90s.
great, beautiful. It's actually quite large. It is one of the largest features of the interior.
Yeah,
The gauges are
it's
huge.
got the kind of like sweaty, patterned old.
This is the same material it was inside the Supra that we drove. It's
Yeah.
the same kind of like shiny, fake patterned leather
Some
plastic.
fabric that's seen some life and sun.
It's great fabric
This car's
though.
seen some life. This is something that's lived in it. It's storied.
It's
at
an
this point.
adventure car, and I love it for that. This is all worn quite well. I mean, I think that was textured at one point, and now it's as smooth as. So, I really, really like this car, James.
I know.
Like, I genuinely, really, really like this car, and I kind of want to buy one.
You want to buy every $5,000
That's not.
car.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want one of all the $5,000
You just can't
cars.
save up for anything.
I'm saving up for an MR2.
Now
I
you
need
are.
$5,000.
Spend the money fixing the Alpha first.
Okay, that's fair.
As time goes on and new cars get heavier and more isolated and more expensive, JDM cars like these are becoming impossibly charming. We really did love hooning around in this little MR2. Despite its low power and many quirks, it still fundamentally remains a great little sports car. By the end of the day, as you could guess, there wasn't much tire left for poor Greg to drive home. Thankfully, Michelin Canada was nice enough to supply some top-notch replacement tires. So as long as Greg doesn't let us drive it again, he will get to experience this MR2 for many more miles to come. Assuming he doesn't blow the engine up.